Isn't Chicago where you and Bette Midler first hooked up, so to speak?
As it were, at a club called Mr. Kelly's, which was a famous nightclub when there were famous nightclubs. And she had just started. She had just come out of Fiddler on the Roof on Broadway, where she was one of the daughters who got married, the one who got married every night. And she would go down the street to the Improv and sing. And Bud Friedman, who owned the Improv, signed her as a client. And she subsequently got a record deal, and then he sent her to Chicago. He called me up because I worked with him on a previous client, on Freddie Prinz. And he called me and said, if you like this girl, would you write about her? So I went to see her, and she knocked me out. And I wrote about her, and she called me and said, "You're a very funny writer." And I said, "Well, you're very funny. You should talk more on stage." And she said, "You got any lines?" And that was the beginning, and it was all Chicago jokes. And then I went out on the road with her, and because I was the TV critic for the Trib at the time, I would be flown out on all these junkets with other TV critics. So I knew the TV critics of all the major papers. So if we would go to Cincinnati, I'd call the guy in Cincinnati, "What's happening? Who can we make fun of in Cincinnati?" And he would give me all the lowdown. And she would come on stage, and she would have all this local material. And of course, her audience was very gay from the beginning. And we used to say, "I hope nobody needs an emergency comb out, because every hairdresser in Cincinnati is in this room." But so they loved the fact that she knew about their town, because most people, they just go, "Hello, Cleveland," and then that's the last reference they make, except maybe they'll talk about the baseball team, depending on who they are.
Yeah. I remember I saw her, the first time I saw her was at the Opera House in Chicago.
Yeah.
When she was doing the King Kong one, where she comes out in the arm of King Kong.
Right, yeah.
That was like 75, I think.
She
was amazing, very early on.
Uh-huh.
What is it about her, do you think, since you've observed so many stars over the years?
Yeah.
What was it about her that made her stick, made her hit and then stick?
She has, first of all, she's amazingly talented, and she's brilliant. Those are two good things to have. Plus, she had two other good things: her legs, and she had a great rack, and was part of her act was to make fun of that, the fact that she knew you were looking at her. Because she wasn't conventionally pretty, but she was wild, and people and made fun of the fact that no matter how hard she tried, she was never quite up to snuff. She never reached the glamour level, and that, I think, a lot of people identified with her. A lot of people felt like, well, look at her. She's using everything she's got. I should do that. I can do that, and it freed them up to be their authentic selves, because they realized, you don't have to be Karen Carpenter. You don't have to be Gloria Loring, a singer, heavily coiffed and all of that. As long as you're real, as long as what you're doing is coming from something that's true, and so it was. She was also joyous. I mean, she was having a great deal of fun, and audiences responded to that. They got joyous, they got happy. San Francisco Chronicle called her America's Joy Buzzer. One of my favorite reviews ever. So that's I think is what happened. And then, of course, her talent ran much deeper, because she became a movie star and and iconic eventually.
I remember the last episode of the Carson show, where she sat on the desk and sang to him, and then it was so touching.
It was beautiful. We did that. We sat at Mark Shaman, who wrote Hairspray,
Right.
which I was later in.
Edna.
Playing Edna, and Mark and Bette and I sat in his studio and came up with that. We wanted to. She'd been on the Carson show like 34 times. He loved her. He took her to Vegas as his opening act, which did not work out. No, he used to have Phyllis McGuire, who was, glamorous, and one of the McGuire sisters and all that. And his audience kind of looked at her and went, "What?" I remember we got into a cab in Vegas, Bette and I, and the cab driver says, "Have you seen that girl at the Sahara?" She says, "Yeah, no, I haven't. Tell me." "Oh my God, what a mouth on her. Oh, is she filthy?" And Bette's kind of shrinking in the back seat. The hood's coming over. But that was Vegas, Vegas in 1973. It was a whole different world.
Yeah.
So yeah. And so anyway, so we created that thing to be the kind of set that she used to do for Carson back in the day, and it really worked well.
I believe I remember her telling stories about how she would go to his, maybe he told the story, go to his office in Manhattan when he was there and knock on the door and drop off her 8x10s and her resume and things of that nature. They had a great rapport.
She didn't have, she hadn't had enough money for headshots, so she looked up an actress named Barbara Lamar, who had died a long time ago, and used her headshots.
Really?
Yeah, just to get in the door. And then once she was in the door, she would tell them what she had done. But Barbara Lamar was very pretty.
Yeah. Well, I think Bette has a certain beauty to her.
Oh, of course, yeah. I mean, she has that kind of Renaissance beauty where they painted them as sort of as they were, and they were all they had noses, right? They all had sharp foreheads. I mean, you look at those Renaissance paintings; they all were not dewy-eyed, kind of hippie chicks.